everybody, I'm the video producer and host of Girl Genius Magazine's new video series, Letting Off Steam, right here on our YouTube channel. Today I'm sitting down with Anika, who is going to introduce herself now. So, can you tell us your name, which I already said, your grade, your major in college if you're in college, and then what field you'd like to pursue in the future, as well as a fun fact about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Priyanshi. My name is Anika. I'm from Tampa, Florida. I'm currently a junior in high school. And I think I would like to major or perhaps minor even in the field of social entrepreneurship. I really honestly don't actually know what I want to do for a career, but I love being in. I'm very wait. Actually, is it okay like if I mess up or?
Go for it. Yeah, that's what this is for.
Oh, okay. Wait. Oh, uh. Oh, so it's like it. You're like edit like cut my responses in.
Yeah, so you can just start over on that whole thing and we'll just cut the first one out and put the second one in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Um. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
hi
no
guys.
problem.
My name is Anika. I'm from Tampa, Florida. I'm currently a junior in high school, and I'm not really sure what I want to do as far as pursuing a career yet, but I am interested in the sectors of business and social entrepreneurship. So, probably something in those areas. And I think a fun fact about me is that my favorite place to visit is Disney World, which is only 1 hour away from my house.
Oh, that is so exciting. I've never been to Disney World and I really want to go. So definitely if I come down to Florida, I'll call you up and we can go to Disney World. Okay, so that's super cool. Social entrepreneurship, that's a new one I haven't heard before. But yeah, that's super cool. So how did you first get into STEM or, what you were talking about? And how's your experience been so far?
Yeah, so I think I first got into STEM when I was in middle school because I come from a community that a lot of people pursue different methods. Actually, I'll restart. Sorry. um, okay. Yeah, so I think that I first started gaining interest in STEM during middle school because I took the class Introductory to Physical Science, and my teacher did a lot of labs and we engaged in a lot of fun activities. So I really started getting interested in science and biology and physics and chemistry. And then I started taking classes in those areas. And on one hand, I really wanted to be a doctor, but as I was beginning to hear about the global health problems in the world, I began thinking of social innovations and ways we can problem solve them. And I think while I initially wanted to pursue a career in the medical field, I think now I want to do something that involves managing maybe a startup or an organization that will actually help people, um, get access to resources, especially in marginalized communities.
I think that's great, especially in the day we live in today. I feel like that's super important with like climate change and all that stuff happening. So that's awesome. So are there any projects that you have worked on or that you want to work on in the future that really excite you?
Yes, I'm actually working on a really cool project right now that we're launching soon to bring into the activism space and eventually helping communities across the nation. Um, so, one of the projects that I'm involved in is called the Activist Express, and it is an online journalism platform for any youth ages 13 to 25 in the United States. Actually, we're also expanding internationally, so we'll have resources for people outside the United States as well. Basically, what we have is a team of youth who are working towards enacting social change through social media awareness. We have a couple of video campaigns going on. We'll have articles on our website. And we're basically taking the power and the energy of our Generation Z to actually form and be the voice of social change. So that's pretty exciting just because I feel like I'm connecting a variety of activists across the nation, and I'm really shedding light on issues that I feel that other platforms don't shed light on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm really excited about that. Another initiative that I have in the youth space is something that we're going to launch soon. So one of the initiatives that I'm excited to be a part of is called AdvoSpace. And AdvoSpace is basically an online digital learning platform for people with disabilities and chronic illnesses to engage in social advocacy. One of the things that really interested me was the amount of representation that we have in the current political climate. And I felt that one of the groups was not really getting a seat at the table. And that was people with physical disabilities, mental disabilities, people who are unable to physically attend events and protests or rallies, things that we as able bodied people take so much advantage of. And I think that one big aspect of this organization, AdvoSpace, is to provide a seat at the table for people who are uniquely abled and people who need access to resources but are currently unable to just because of physical barriers.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's super amazing that you're part of all these advocacy groups because our generation is really, I feel like, the generation for change. A lot of us are more politically aware and are more like active than the previous generation. So that's super awesome. Um, yeah, so all these projects will be linked in the description below. So if you want to check them out or become a part of them yourself, I think that's a great idea and you can definitely check them out. All right, so let's get into the next question. So you basically got into this already, but how do you hope to make an impact in your field through the causes that motivate you?
So I think one of the causes that motivate me currently is just the accessibility of resources. And when I say that, it's because I'm coming from a community that has very few people who are engaged in activism and social advocacy. And while I was in high school, starting out as a freshman, I was really interested in pursuing different opportunities that my community simply didn't have. So I networked and I reached out to a lot of other people and, was asking about resources or things I can utilize to build an impact. And one of the things that popped up was um, opportunities as an organizer in my community and bringing resources. So what I really feel that I'm doing is I'm listening to a bunch of youth across the nation, and I'm providing help where oops. um so what I'm doing as an activist is taking voices of people who are usually underrepresented in certain fields, and I'm shedding light on certain issues and providing a platform for where people can speak out. And so one of the things I'm involved in is speech and debate. And I think that one of the most important things I've learned is to speak out about any issues, to use my voice and help others who are not necessarily able to use their voice. And I think that has really motivated me to pursue a lot of activism through protests and rallies, and then also journalism.
Okay, yeah, that's super cool. My most of my friends are in speech and debate, and I did it for a couple years as well. What event are you doing?
Oh, I do OI. So I do like prose and actually do speech. Not debate, but I've done congressional debate before. And then I also do like poetry, prose, program oral interpretation, humorous and dramatic interp.
Oh yeah, I did duo one of the years for speech, so that's super cool.
Oh
Um,
yeah, nice.
okay, cool. So, would you say you had a turning point in your life that shaped your life in any way for the better, hopefully?
I really think just being aware of different issues really sparked honestly from speech and debate. And I think I was always the very unconventional person in my community. And what I say by that is that when I was, a young person, while most people my age would be hanging out with their friends or doing something, normal teenagers do, I would really be researching issues, talking to people, finding ways to help my community more in depth than I think others would. So I just really like getting the opportunity to like help people and serve people in ways that I can. So looking at like a timeline of my life, I think that really sparked is when I entered high school as a freshman. And um, throughout my transition from middle to high school, I traveled a lot that summer and I made a lot of new friends. And I really began to get a taste of like the opportunities I would have as like an older high schooler, because I frankly think, at this age, most of the opportunities we get is because of our age and the fact that I had a lot of access. I started using that to build change.
Yeah, that's super amazing that you started super early in high school and you kind of like found what you were passionate about early in high school. I feel like the beginning of high school, like maybe summer after your freshman year or summer after eighth grade, is really when you find your passion. That was like the same with me. Like the summer after ninth grade is when I really like, set my heart on like learning more about tech and going to computer science. So yeah, that's amazing. Um, would you say there's a conversation you had that you might have thought was like the best conversation or that helped you realize something?
Hmm. Yes, actually, that is such a great question. So one of the biggest conversations I had was with a youth organizer. I will actually not reveal their name just for confidential reasons. Um, but basically, they were talking about building inclusivity and diversity in the youth activism space. So I think one of the big things that is arising in the Generation Z like activism space is the fact that people of color and people who come from marginalized communities are not getting a voice in the forefront of social change. Um, and a couple organizations, again, I just don't want to name them. Basically, they are not using their platform to amplify voices of people who are from different diverse backgrounds. Sometimes organizations don't involve people of varieties of cultures. And I think one of the biggest things is to really bring everyone to the table and make sure that everyone's voice is heard. And I think having a conversation with this specific youth organizer really helped me realize ways where we can include more people into different events and different initiatives. And what that youth organizer helped me realize is that there's so many people who whose voices are not heard but who are facing the same problems, and sometimes things that they cannot speak up about, we have to use our power and privilege to help them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like you oftentimes what the media displays is often just what you see and what you believe. But the fact that you're calling out people for like not representing marginalized communities or just communities that cannot speak up for themselves is awesome, and I hope you keep continuing that throughout your career. You're not completely in STEM, but I know you're in that area. So are there any struggles you face specifically because of being a female or just struggles in general? And what would you say is advice to overcome them?
So um well, using a lot of like technology along with activism, especially with social media and different technological initiatives, I definitely like struggled as a female because I was really um not I was not included in some of the initiatives, I feel, because of my background, and not just a female but also a woman of color. um I think that a lot of times people like to focus on mainstream like movements, and as I said before, like there's a lot of organizations who are not focusing on getting the voices that are true and authentic and from people facing actual problems in their communities. So I think as a female, I've just struggled a lot in not just with activism and STEM, but also just in in school, in clubs, and variety of things. Like recently there was an election for a specific club at my school, and every person in that club who attended the election was a male. And so, unfortunately, I did not get voted for the specific position I was standing for. And I think it attributes to the fact that I was the only female in the room. And instead of seeing it as something empowering, a lot of the males wanted a man to stand up for the position because they felt that their voice would be heard. When in reality, I feel like we all should be amplifying our everyone's voices regardless of their gender.
Yeah, I mean representation in all fields is super important, and I feel like seeing like one of the reasons I started this series is so that women and girls can see other girls that look like them and that are passionate about the same things as them, of all different backgrounds and ages, and just know that they can also be part of the change in tech and this initiative to bring more girls into technology. And it's super important to have representation in like STEM fields since we're like losing women instead of gaining them through these programs. So yeah, that's thank you for sharing that. Okay, so what's the most interesting thing about you that we wouldn't learn from your resume alone?
I think there is one thing. So I think I come from a very interesting culture that I would definitely like to share. So my parents are from India, and they're from a place in India that many people, even a lot of Indians, haven't heard of. So I really like to share this story because it attributes to a lot of cultural facts about me and my identity. Um, so both my parents grew up in Bombay. It's called Mumbai now, but before it was called Bombay. But both of my parents originally, we speak a language called Konkani, which is the language of the people in a city in India called Goa, um, where it's actually a tribal language, because Goa is a city on the coast, and words from my language are similar to words in Portuguese. Is because when the Portuguese settlers settled in India, the language mixed with the Indian tribal language, and it created this new language that I currently speak today. And our community has a small population just because of the acculturation and stuff. So I always like to tell people about like where I'm from and where my identity is, because I feel like a lot of people don't know of this. And yeah.
Yeah, so I've heard of Goa before. I think I haven't been there, but I remember like hearing about it's a beautiful beach in India. But I haven't heard of your language, so that's awesome. And the fact that it had like Portuguese roots and everything, that's super interesting. You don't really hear that a lot in India. So super cool. Okay, and to wrap it up, what advice would you have for a girl looking to start in either advocacy or social activism or anything?
What I would definitely recommend is to get involved with to in order to start in your community. You should really develop an initiative that you think is going to impact a lot of members, or you can join an existing organization that is already making a lot of impact. So either which way is good. Just the thought that you would like to help someone means a lot. And definitely, there's so many resources out there for youths to get involved. Um, as Priyanshi said, I'll provide some links below, and you guys can check it out.
Yeah, definitely. So, thank you, Anika, for joining us in this interview. We'll link down below some of the things you can do if you want to be part of the change. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us. Do you want anything to add to our viewers?
Mm-mm.
All right, so let me stop the recording. And actually, we can cut out the part where I asked for that. Editors, thank you.